Okay, so welcome to stage 5 of the 30-day challenge. So far in the first 4 stages, we've looked at various elements of mobility, stability, obviously balance on one leg, looking at strengthening some of the key muscle groups we need as runners and triathletes as well. In this stage though, I want to take a bit of a different angle. I want to look at running form. I want to look at a couple of key little drills and key little things we can think about as we're running, just to practice over the next 5 days to try and tidy up your running form in general terms. Now there's obviously so much variation and variety we see amongst runners and triathletes in terms of running form, and it's very hard to be kind of generic in terms of saying what's going to be a couple of key drills to benefit everybody. But in my experience, there are a couple of things that everybody can work on, particularly in terms of tidying up the swing phase, the way we pull that leg through underneath you, and looking at just making sure cadence and upper body carriage is nice and crisp as is appropriate for the given pace. So there's a drill that I actually videoed a couple of weeks ago and put up on YouTube, which we're going to have a look at now, which I want to use as one of the main drills for this 5 days, getting you to practice it day in, day out, every day for the next 5 days, just constantly trying to hammer in this new pattern, making sure we're getting knee flexion and hip flexion happening together as we're driving the leg through swing phase.
I thought I'd just spend a couple of minutes in the sun here while it's a nice day, just going through a quick little drill that I use with a lot of the runners that I'm working with to focus on the triple flex position, getting that increased hip flexion, knee flexion, and well, we're not really looking to pull up into too much dorsiflexion, but just this nice relaxed control position at the ankle during running gait, where so many runners run without adequate hip flexion, so adequate knee drive, you can look at that as, and importantly, without the combined hip flexion and knee flexion for a given pace. Simple little drill. We simply get them up against what could be a wall, but I'll use this for today. And instead of getting them to think about a knees, let's say a knees up drill or high knees drill, where they're simply driving the knee forward, 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 here, all I want to do is keep core control and feel the difference between a knee drive, which is basically just hip flexion without really accentuating this knee flexion, and the position here where they're just starting to shorten up this knee flexion, shorten up the angle that they're bending the knee to, so this foot comes to a higher recovery position underneath their body. Big difference between this, which is hip flexion, hip flexion, hip flexion, versus this, which is hip flexion and knee flexion together. See how you get on with that? Give it a go, and then you can try that in standing. Okay, so big difference, as I say, between driving the knees up and simply driving the knee with a higher foot lift. That equates to increased hip flexion with increased knee flexion. So it's there, 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 which is good, versus there, 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 which is not so good. Give it a go, see how you get on.
Okay, so across the next 5 days, I want to use this drill. Every single day we're going to do a set of 100. Some of you might have come across the 100 up drill. This is a slight different variation of that, same kind of concept in terms of counting through to 100. To begin with, as per the video, I'm going to have you leaning in against a wall, a tree, a post, a fence, whatever it is, getting that nice long alignment through your posture, and then counting 50 on the left, 50 on the right, lifting that foot up, driving that knee through in that nice combined hip flexion, knee flexion pattern, pulling the foot up underneath your bum. 100 of those every single day for the next 5 days. You'll just be reinforcing the pattern that you can then think about as you're out on the run. It's worth noting that as you're doing this, because you're on the spot, naturally you'll be landing on your forefoot, you'll be landing on the balls of the feet. It's kind of hard, almost impossible to land on your heels as you're doing this. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to turn you into a forefoot runner. If you're a habitual heel striking runner, as most people are, then go with that, that's fine. As you're running, stick with that comfortable heel striking pattern, but just know that in changing this swing pattern and improving this, we'll be getting everything above this initial foot contact into a slightly better position. Okay, so the next of the 2 drills we're going to be focusing on across these 5 days actually looks further up the body. Obviously a lot of the time we speak about foot strike and speak about overstriding and changing what's happening lower down, but further up there's actually a hell of a lot we can change, and a hell of a lot we can change very easily to affect things like cadence. Cadence being a real driver again for stride length, so it all comes together. So many runners I meet, and they're almost fairly passive through their upper body. They're holding their arms close to their chest, their upper arm close to their chest, and almost just rotating as they're running from side to side, not using these arms actively on their torso. And I'm not talking about distance runners using their arms like Usain Bolt, back and forth in these big swinging, sweeping patterns. I'm talking about the difference between being here, clamped to your torso, doing very little with your upper body, versus having a nice, gentle swing. And this gentle swing, if we focus on driving the elbow backwards, then driving the elbow back on this side times in nicely with the hip extension we want on the other side. So as the leg comes back here, the arm comes back here. That's something really innate. That's something from the time when we're crawling around, and when we're learning to walk and we're walking around. This opposite arm, opposite leg pattern is really important, and the arms are there to dampen the rotation that we need for the upper body so that we get the net gain of just going forwards. We want to see, as we're walking, the pelvis gently rotate from side to side, as let's say in this case the right leg's coming forward and the pelvis is rotating around to the left. As that's happening, to balance things out, my body's going to rotate around the other way. The arms, as we're doing that, as I said, balance out that rotation and counter rotation and give us that nice balanced forward motion. If we're kind of gunked up with those arms and not doing so much, then we break that whole pattern. I want to get used to just gently swinging this arm and driving the point of the elbow back. 90 degrees is a good start point to think about in terms of elbow angle. If you're running that little bit harder, that's okay to shorten that up. If you're on a long, steady run, we can open that out. I generally say around 10 degrees either side of 90 is absolutely fine. You'll get some people who find that naturally they hold their arms a little bit lower, some people who feel they're comfortable a little bit tighter. There's variation. I want to get the idea really focused on driving this elbow back to help sink in with, as I said, this opposite side hip extension. The cue that I want you to think about as you're running throughout this week, whether you're taking this onto one of your pre-planned runs, or whether we do this just as a few sets of strides within the 30-day challenge, is simply to think as you're running about the difference between giving an extra little jab backwards with the elbow, so back, 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 versus not doing so much with the arms, whatever feels like normal for you. Once you've got that feeling of synchronicity and the feeling that as you drive the arms, yes, it opens the chest out a little bit, yes, it encourages you to drive that hip into extension. Once we start to speed the arms up a touch, that's a really nice way of increasing your cadence. Obviously, I don't know you individually. I don't know where your baseline cadence is for a given pace, so I can't say I want you to lift your cadence up to this point, lift your cadence up from this point to that point. Instead, for a given pace, simply feel how, as we speed the arms up 2, 3, 4%, naturally the legs turn over a bit quicker and foot strike gets a little bit lighter. Give it a go, see how you get on. Okay, so that's just a snapshot of a couple of key little drills, key little concepts you can think about as you're running. At Kinetic Revolution, we've got an online course which delivers 6 weeks of specific drills, cues, exercises and routines that you can use across 6 weeks to build up, whatever your start point, a more efficient, more effective running form. If you click the link below, it'll give a far better explanation of what the 6-week course is, and it'll give you an opportunity to get on there at a discounted rate. Go and have a look, and perhaps we'll see you on there. Cheers.